The Redmi Note series is one of the most popular phones when it comes to the mid-range phones. And this right here is the Redmi Note 12 4G, and let's talk about it. When you open the box, first you're given the phone. Mine was in this ice blue color, which I really love. You get a 33 watts charging brick, a USB-A to Type-C cable, and a clear case for your phone, which you obviously appreciate. And the clear case actually covers the USB-C port, which is really nice, which will prevent it from dust. And so my unit here is the ice blue, which I really love, but you also get two other options to choose from, with mint green and onyx gray. And it's a big phone on its own. It has a 6.67-inch screen, and most people these days are actually fans of big phones. And if you're coming from a smaller phone like mine, in this case referring to the iPhone 11, which is not that small, but you get the point, you might struggle with some things that you're used to doing with one hand, and this time you have to use maybe both hands, but you're going to adapt just like I did. But apart from it being big, it is actually very light. It is 183 grams, which is really nice, and it's easy to carry around, and you're not going to be tired carrying it. Talking about the design, it has flat edges with the rounded corners, and look at that, something you don't often see these days. A headphone jack, and this also has expandable storage, so you can put a memory card of up to 64 GB. And it also has dual SIM, but doesn't have an eSIM. You also get a fingerprint reader on the power button, which works really fast. Sometimes you can even unlock your phone unknowingly because of how fast it works. The other security options you get include face unlock, obviously the password, and I'm not a big fan of the face unlock because it's obviously not as secure as Face ID, and it is not that safe. And you also get another security option to unlock using a Bluetooth device that is from Xiaomi. It has a 120Hz AMOLED display with a resolution of 2400 by 1080 pixels, with a typical brightness of 450 nits, a high brightness of 700 nits, and a peak brightness of 1200 nits. So when you're outside and the sun is bright, you're still going to be able to view the screen without any stress. And coming from an LCD display from the iPhone 11, I can see a very big difference, and I really love the display on these. The brightness is really good, and I recommend having the auto brightness setting on because it really works really well. It is able to adjust accordingly and even save on battery life, and I'll talk about battery life later. And watching stuff on this display has been really good considering it is a big AMOLED display. The colors are so vivid, and you also get to customize the colors and choose the preference you want. I prefer to have mine on vivid, but you can also customize to choose the one that suits you best. So let's talk about the speakers. So comparing this to the Redmi Note 11 from last year, they removed the stereo speakers. So this just has a standard bottom firing speaker, and it can obviously get really loud, but when it comes to things such as the bass, the depth of the sound, this is not as good as what you would expect in a stereo speaker.
Can I be your superhero?
And regarding the speakers, another issue I have, probably because of how I hold my phone, I sometimes find myself putting my finger under the speaker, so when I play a sound, it might be interrupted by my speaker, which is an issue I've never really had. And so I wish it really had stereo speakers. And as I had showed you earlier in the unboxing, it comes with a 33 watts charging brick that powers up a 5000 mAh battery, and the battery life on this device really stands out. And so on average, on a full charge, I'm able to get this phone to around 33 hours to 36 hours of being active, and the 33 watts charger can get this phone to 50% in around 30 minutes and to 100% in just about an hour and 10 minutes. And so I can say battery life is one of my favorite things, if not the most favorite thing about this phone. And so let's talk about performance. This is powered by an improved version of the Snapdragon 680, which is the Snapdragon 685, and the main difference is that this can go to a maximum clock speed of 2.8 GHz. And considering the price of this device, I feel like the performance is really good. I've barely had any issues while using it. And so if you're going to be using this phone for every day-to-day tasks, this can be a really good device because throughout the times I've been testing it, I've barely had the phone hang, and it has performed really good. I will attach some benchmark scores, on Geekbench 6 so that you can see the CPU performance. I also ran some 3D benchmarks on 3D Mark. So it had an endurance rating of 99.2%, it consumed about 5% of battery, and it reached a best score of 647. And for the price, I can't complain. And just for context, comparing this to my previous device, the iPhone 11. The iPhone 11 reached a peak score of around 1100 and had an endurance rating of 98% there. And so considering the iPhone 11 was a flagship and this is a mid-range phone, I feel like the performance for this price is really good. This also has other storage options starting from 64GB to 128GB, and it uses UFS 2.2, which is obviously better than UFS 2.1 with better read and write speeds. It's not the fastest storage out there, but again on this device it has been really good. And in my personal gaming experience, I'm not the biggest gamer on mobile phones, but on the game which I usually play mostly on the phone, Subway Surfers, it has been really good. I love the colors, the graphics are so good, and the 120Hz refresh rate is really smooth, especially when swiping through the trains. So let's talk about the cameras on this device. So this is described as having a 50 megapixel AI triple camera, which basically means it has a 50 megapixel main camera and two other cameras, which is the 8 megapixel ultra wide and a 2 megapixel macro camera. And the AI part just means that it uses AI to enhance the photos. And so I took a lot of pictures with these, and it doesn't take 50 megapixel photos by default. You'll have to enable it manually, and it actually captures more detail than the regular photos. The selfies on this also look good with good lighting, and some of the portrait selfies I took, I realized that my face was being softened a bit, but the separation between the subject and the background was actually really nice. And it also has a pro mode where you have more control on the picture you take, so you have more options to play with, and if you understand more photography stuff, you're going to be able to have fun with these. And when it comes to pictures indoors, especially if you do not have good lighting, like this is a picture of me in my room, you can see it's soft, it's grainy, and they do not look really well, so you can get some noisy photos, especially with the selfie camera. The same case for the back camera. And so with this one, I can say you really need some good lighting for you to get some really nice shots. This is also not the best for recording videos. It can shoot videos up to 1080p, and in the camera it also has a time lapse and a slow-mo mode. And as you can see from this slow-mo video, the quality is not as detailed. And for normal videos taken with these, I can just recommend having them static, because when you're moving, it kind of struggles. Also, considering that this is a mid-range phone, the software experience has been really good on this. Out of the box, it comes with Android 13 and MIUI 14, and the MIUI 14 is the global version, so you get to have some exclusive features for MIUI 14. And this time it is lighter and doesn't consume as much memory and storage as MIUI 13. And so for the 4GB one with 64GB of storage, it starts at 21,999 on the Kenyan market, all the way to 26,999 for the 8GB 128GB of storage. And so for the one I would recommend, I would advise you to get from the 6GB of RAM version, because knowing MIUI is heavy. 4GB of RAM can be a bit little, so get from the 6GB of RAM with 128GB of storage, depending on your storage preference. And if you can't, get the 8GB variant, which I have had a great experience on it. And so for this phone, I can totally recommend it. You're getting an AMOLED on 20Hz 1080p display, a good processor, the Snapdragon 685. You're getting the latest software experience with MIUI 14 and Android 13. And Redmi have also promised 2 major Android updates on this phone and 4 years of security updates. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this device. Be sure to leave a comment, and to watch my review of the Oraimo Reef earbuds, which are actually right here, click on the video on the screen, and I'll see you in a bit. I'm out. Peace.